In the grand theatre of history, some ideas are so powerful, they reshape the world. This is the story of one such idea, forged not in the fire of revolution, but in the quiet corridors of power. It's the story of gold, a simple, shimmering metal, and how it became the bedrock of global finance. This is the gold standard gambit. Our journey begins in the late 19th century, an era of unprecedented industrial growth and imperial ambition. Nations were expanding, trade was booming, and the world was becoming smaller, more connected. But this new global economy needed a common language, a universal measure of value. Currencies fluctuated wildly, trust was scarce, and economic chaos was a constant threat. The world's great powers, from London to New York, were searching for an anchor, something solid and dependable in a sea of uncertainty. Enter the protagonist of our story, not a single person but an institution, the central bank. And its grand idea, the classical gold standard. The concept was elegant in its simplicity. Each nation would peg its currency to a fixed weight of gold. A British pound, a US dollar, a French franc. All would be directly convertible into a specific amount of physical gold held in government vaults. This wasn't just about money, it was about discipline. Governments couldn't just print more currency to pay their debts or fund their ambitions. Their paper money was only as good as the gold that backed it. This system, championed by titans of finance and politics, promised a golden age of stability. For a time, it seemed to deliver. International trade flourished under the certainty it provided. Capital flowed across borders with newfound confidence. If you were an investor in London, you could confidently lend money to a business in Buenos Aires, knowing the value of your return was guaranteed in gold. It was a self-regulating mechanism, a golden straitjacket, that forced governments to be fiscally responsible. If a country spent too much and its gold reserves dwindled, its economy would contract, prices would fall, and the outflow of gold would reverse. It was a beautiful, mechanical, and seemingly perfect system. But beneath this gleaming surface, tensions were building. The system's rigidity was both its greatest strength and its most profound weakness. It demanded that nations prioritize the stability of their currency above all else, even the well-being of their own citizens. If a country faced a recession, the gold standard dictated austerity. Wages had to be cut, spending slashed, and unemployment had to rise to bring the economy back into balance. The human cost of this discipline was immense. Workers and farmers, who had no say in the grand financial architecture, bore the brunt of these harsh adjustments. Discontent simmered, and critics began to question whether the golden straitjacket was becoming a tool of oppression. The perfect system was showing its cracks. The breaking point, the climax of our story, arrived with the thunderous cannons of World War I. The great powers suspended the gold standard, printing vast sums of money to finance the unprecedented slaughter. The war shattered the old world order and the spirit of international cooperation that the gold standard relied upon. After the war, there was a desperate attempt to put the pieces back together to resurrect the old system. In 1925, Britain, led by then Chancellor of the Exchequer Winston Churchill, made the fateful decision to return to gold at the pre-war parity. It was a move driven by national pride, a desire to restore London's status as the world's financial centre. But this was not the same world. The British economy was weakened, its industries struggling. Returning to gold at the old high value made British goods expensive and uncompetitive. The result was economic disaster. A general strike paralyzed the nation, unemployment soared, and the country plunged into a long, grinding depression. The attempt to chain the modern world to a pre-war relic had failed spectacularly. Then came the Wall Street crash of 1929, sending a catastrophic shockwave across the globe. The Great Depression had begun. Nations were forced to choose, defend their gold reserves or save their economies. One by one, they abandoned the gold standard. In 1931, Britain finally severed its link to gold. In 1933, the United States followed suit. The Great Gambit was over. In the aftermath, the world was left to contemplate the wreckage. The fall of the gold standard was a profound revelation. It showed that no economic system, no matter how elegant or theoretically sound, could be separated from human reality and political will. The pursuit of a rigid, automated financial order had led not to stability, but to catastrophe. It taught a painful lesson. Economies are not machines. They are complex ecosystems of human beings, and their well-being cannot be sacrificed on the altar of a fixed metallic value. This realization would fundamentally change the course of economic thought for the rest of the 20th century. From the ashes of the gold standard, a new system was born at Bretton Woods in 1944. It was a compromise, a hybrid system where the US dollar was pegged to gold and other currencies were pegged to the dollar. It was an attempt to recapture some of the stability of the old standard while allowing for more flexibility. But even this system could not last forever. In 1971, President Richard Nixon unilaterally severed the dollar's final link to gold, ushering in the modern era of floating exchange rates we live in today. The age of gold was truly and finally over. So what is the legacy of this grand experiment? The story of the gold standard is a powerful cautionary tale. It reveals the immense power of ideas to shape our world, for better and for worse. It's a story of the tension between order and freedom, between institutional discipline and human needs. While we no longer live under a gold standard, its ghost still haunts our financial debates. The principles it embodied, the fear of inflation, the desire for a stable store of value, the debate over government control of money are as relevant today as they were a century ago. It reminds us that behind the complex charts and abstract theories of economics lie fundamental questions about power, trust, and the kind of world we want to live in. The gold standard gambit may have failed, but the intellectual and historical treasure it left behind is priceless. Thank you for joining us on this journey through financial history. If you found this exploration fascinating, consider subscribing and hitting that like button. We have many more stories about the ideas that shaped our world. See you in the next video.